You gonna stand there all day, or are you gonna bring me my damn eggs? The man in the corner booth, Gerald, her manager calls him, like they're friends, drums his fingers on the laminate table. Celeste forces her lips into something resembling a smile, the expression pulling at the tender skin near her cheekbone. Coming right up, sir. She pivots toward the kitchen, but her shoe catches on the torn linoleum, and suddenly she's falling, the empty coffee pot in her hand arcing through the air like a promise of more pain to come. Strong hands catch her waist before she hits the ground. The world stops. Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong. She says I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's continue. Celeste looks up into eyes the color of midnight. Impossibly dark, impossibly deep, framed by a face that belongs in marble halls, not a truck stop diner off Interstate 40. The stranger steadies her with a gentleness that makes her chest ache, his hands cool even through her thin uniform. Careful, he says, and his voice rolls through her like distant thunder. British accent, expensive suit. Everything about him screams wrong place, wrong time, wrong universe. Thank you, The words tangle in her throat because he's staring at her. Not at her body, not through her like she's furniture, but at her, and there's something in his expression that makes her want to run and stay in equal measure. Your cheek. His thumb rises toward her face, and she flinches so hard she nearly drops the coffee pot again. The stranger's eyes narrow. His hand freezes mid-air. I fell, Celeste hears herself say, the lie automatic, smooth from repetition. Yesterday, I'm clumsy. Always have been. For 3 heartbeats, he doesn't move. Then he lowers his hand and steps back, giving her space she didn't ask for, but desperately needs. Of course. His voice carries something darker now, something that makes the hair on her arms stand up. Forgive me. He walks to the booth by the window, the one that gives a view of the parking lot and the dying sunset beyond, and sits with the kind of fluid grace that doesn't belong to normal people. Celeste exhales and realizes she's been holding her breath. Order up, Marcus yells from the kitchen window. The rest of the shift blurs. Celeste delivers eggs and bacon to Gerald, refills coffee for the truckers at the counter, ignores the way her manager Steve watches her from the office, with eyes that make her skin crawl. But through it all, she feels the stranger's gaze like a physical weight, tracking her movements across the diner floor. He orders nothing, doesn't even pick up the menu. Just sits there, fingers steepled beneath his chin, watching. At 9:45, when the dinner rush has died to a trickle and her feet throb in her discount sneakers, Celeste finally approaches his table. Can I get you anything, sir? Up close, he's even more unsettling. Beautiful in a way that doesn't feel quite human. Skin too perfect, features too symmetrical, that strange coolness radiating from him like he's carved from winter itself. Your name, he says. Celeste. The word escapes before she can stop it. Celeste. He tastes her name like fine wine, rolling it through syllables that sound like poetry. I'm Dorian Ashford, and I'd like to offer you a job. The laugh that escapes her is harsh, broken. I have a job. You have exploitation? His eyes flick to where Steve lurks in the office doorway. You have degradation masquerading as employment. What I'm offering is something else entirely. Look, I don't know what you think. $25 an hour to start. Full benefits. Housing provided. Dorian leans forward, and the intensity in his gaze pins her in place. All you have to do is say yes. It's a trap. Has to be. Men like him, men in $1,000 suits who smell like cedar and midnight, they don't offer salvation to women like her. They offer different kinds of cages, prettier bars, softer chains. I can't. Can't or won't. What's the difference? Everything. He slides a business card across the table. Heavy cardstock. Embossed lettering that catches the light. Ashford Estate Management. When you're ready to choose something different, call that number. Celeste! Steve's voice cracks across the diner like a whip. Stop bothering the customers and clean up the damn kitchen. She grabs the card, shoving it deep into her apron pocket, and hurries toward the back. But not before she sees the way Dorian's expression changes. Something predatory sliding behind those dark eyes. Something ancient and hungry that makes her think of wolves in winter forests. The kitchen is a disaster zone of grease and regret. Celeste scrubs at the industrial sink, watching brown water swirl down the drain, and tries not to think about the card burning a hole in her pocket. $25 an hour. Housing. It sounds like a fairy tale. And she stopped believing in those 3 years ago when Todd's fist first connected with her jaw. You're working slow tonight. She doesn't turn around. Doesn't have to. Steve's cologne, cheap and cloying, announces him before his words do. Just tired. Tired. He's closer now, close enough that she can feel his breath on her neck. You cost me a customer tonight. That fancy guy in the suit? Left without ordering. That's money out of my pocket, Celeste. I didn't. His hand clamps around her upper arm, fingers digging into the bruises already there, and pain explodes white-hot behind her eyes. She bites her tongue to keep from crying out. You think you're special? Think you can flirt with the customers and ignore your work? Steve's grip tightens. You're replaceable. Remember that. The door to the kitchen swings open. Dorian stands in the doorway, and the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. He doesn't say a word. Doesn't have to. Steve's hand falls away from Celeste's arm like he's been burned. The diner is closed, Steve says, but his voice wavers. Is it? Dorian glances at the clock on the wall. I see you're still open for another 15 minutes. I'd like to place an order. Kitchen's being cleaned. Then I suppose she'll have to stop cleaning it. Dorian's gaze slides to Celeste, and there's a question in his eyes. A choice. She makes it. What would you like, Mr. Ashford? Steve sputters behind her, but she's already moving, already untying her apron, already choosing the unknown over the hell she knows. Dorian's lips curve into something that might be a smile if smiles could hold that much danger. Coffee, he says. Black. And perhaps you might join me while I drink it. The booth by the window feels like neutral territory, Switzerland carved out of cracked vinyl and laminate. Celeste slides into the seat across from Dorian, her untouched cup of coffee growing cold between her hands. You shouldn't have interfered, she says quietly. And yet, I did. He's going to make my life hell. Will he? Dorian tilts his head, studying her like she's a puzzle he's determined to solve. Or will you simply stop giving him the opportunity? Celeste's fingers tighten around the cup. You don't understand. I can't just quit. I have rent, utilities, Todd's. She stops herself, but it's too late. Todd's what? The silence stretches between them, heavy with things unsaid. Outside, the parking lot lights buzz and flicker, casting shadows that dance across Dorian's face, making him look even less human than before. Nothing. Forget it. Celeste. Her name again, soft as velvet, dangerous as a blade. Who has been hurting you? The question lands like a physical blow. She opens her mouth to lie, to spin another story about clumsiness, about accidents, about anything other than the truth. But something in his eyes stops her. Why do you care? Because I do. Simple words, simply spoken, but they carry a weight that makes her breath catch. Because the moment I saw you, something in me recognized something in you. Because I am very old, and very tired, and very done with watching beautiful things get destroyed by small, cruel men. Very old. The words register somewhere in the back of her mind, adding themselves to the list of things that don't quite make sense about Dorian Ashford. I don't need rescuing, she whispers. Everyone needs rescuing sometimes. He reaches across the table, palm up, an invitation, not a demand. Even Immortals. Her hand moves before her brain can stop it, fingers settling into his palm. His skin is cool, smooth, and the moment they touch, something electric passes between them. Recognition, yes, but also something deeper. something that feels like coming home after a long and terrible journey. Immortal, she repeats, testing the word. Vampire, if you prefer the common terminology, though I find it's usually accompanied by rather tedious assumptions about coffins and garlic. The corner of his mouth lifts. I assure you, I'm far more civilized than folklore suggests. She should pull her hand away, should run. Should do anything except sit here holding hands with a man, a creature, who just casually admitted to being a vampire in a truck stop diner off Interstate 40. Instead, she laughs. A real laugh, bubbling up from somewhere deep and forgotten, and it feels like flying. You're insane, she says. Quite possibly. His thumb traces gentle circles on her palm, but I'm also offering you a way out. The estate needs someone to manage the house, a real position, not a euphemism. And it would put you somewhere safe, somewhere he can't reach you. How do you know about Todd? Dorian's expression hardens. I can smell his violence on you. See the careful way you move, avoiding pressure on your ribs. The foundation you've layered over the bruising. I've lived for 3 centuries, Celeste. I know what abuse looks like. 3 centuries. The number should terrify her. Instead, it just makes him seem sad, ancient and weary, and infinitely lonely. He'll come after me, she says. If I leave, he'll come after me. He always says... Her voice breaks. He always says I'll never leave him. Then he'll learn what happens when someone challenges Dorian Ashford. The words are soft, but there's steel beneath them. And he'll learn that you are under my protection now. Protection. The word tastes foreign on her tongue, like a language she's forgotten how to speak. The door to the diner crashes open. Todd stands framed in the entrance, backlit by the parking lot lights, and Celeste's heart drops into her stomach. He's been drinking. She can tell by the way he sways, by the red flush crawling up his neck. There you are. His voice is too loud, too aggressive. Been calling you for an hour. You ignoring me now? Celeste tries to pull her hand away, but Dorian's fingers tighten gently, holding her in place. The lady is occupied, Dorian says, his voice perfectly pleasant and absolutely terrifying. Todd's eyes narrow as he takes in the scene, Celeste sitting with a stranger, holding hands, looking more relaxed than she has in months. She watches the rage build behind his eyes like a gathering storm. The lady is my girlfriend, Todd spits, stalking toward their booth, and she's coming home. Now. No. The word comes from Celeste's mouth before she can stop it, before fear can strangle it in her throat. No, I'm not. Everything happens at once. Todd lunges forward, arm raised, and Celeste flinches, already anticipating the blow. But Dorian moves faster than thought. Faster than physics should allow. One moment he's sitting across from her, the next he's standing between her and Todd, one hand wrapped around Todd's wrist in a grip that makes Todd cry out. You will not touch her, Dorian says, and his voice has changed, deeper, resonant with power that makes the windows rattle in their frames. You will never touch her again. Do you understand? Todd struggles, but he might as well be fighting granite. Dorian holds him effortlessly, and for the first time Celeste sees real fear flash across Todd's face. What the hell are you? Dorian leans in close, and Celeste sees his smile, sees the flash of elongated canines that definitely weren't there a moment ago. I'm your worst nightmare, Dorian whispers, but Celeste hears every word with perfect clarity. And if you ever come near her again, I will show you exactly what 300 years of refined cruelty looks like. Now leave. He releases Todd's wrist, and Todd stumbles backward, cradling his arm. For a moment, Celeste thinks he might try again. Male pride is a stupid, dangerous thing. But something in Dorian's expression must convince him, because Todd backs toward the door, pointing at Celeste with his good hand. This isn't over. Oh, but it is. Dorian's voice follows him out into the parking lot. Believe that, if nothing else. The door swings shut. Silence fills the diner like water rushing into a sinking ship. Celeste realizes she's standing pressed against the booth, her hands shaking so hard she can barely keep them still. "Celeste!" Dorian turns to her, and his face is normal again. Human again, but she can still see the predator lurking beneath the surface. "Are you all right?" The question breaks something inside her. A dam that's been holding back 3 years of fear and pain and desperate silent endurance. She starts to cry, great, gasping sobs that shake her whole body. And suddenly Dorian's arms are around her, holding her together while she falls apart. He smells like cedar and old books, and something else, something clean and cold and eternal. His chest is solid against her cheek, and he doesn't tell her to stop crying, doesn't tell her it's going to be okay. He just holds her, one hand stroking her hair with a gentleness that makes her cry harder. "I've got you," he murmurs. "I've got you, and I'm not letting go." Steve emerges from his office, taking in the scene with calculating eyes. What the hell happened out here? "Miss Celeste is tendering her resignation," Dorian says smoothly. "Effective immediately. I trust there won't be any issues with her final paycheck." "Now wait, won't there?" Dorian's eyes flash in the fluorescent light, and Steve takes an involuntary step backward. No issues." "Excellent." Dorian's hand settles at the small of Celeste's back, steady and sure. "Come, let's get you somewhere safe." The parking lot is empty except for Dorian's car, a sleek black Mercedes that looks like it costs more than Celeste has earned in her entire life. He opens the passenger door for her, the gesture so courtly and old-fashioned that it makes her heart ache. "I don't have anything," she says, sliding into leather seats that smell like money. "My stuff is at Todd's apartment. We'll send someone for your belongings." Dorian closes her door and walks around to the driver's side with that same impossible grace. "But you're not going back there. Not tonight. Not ever." The engine purrs to life, and they pull out onto the highway. Celeste watches the diner disappear in the side mirror, that prison of grease and fluorescent lights, and daily humiliation shrinking to a speck in the distance. "Where are we going?" "Home," Dorian says simply. "To the estate." The drive takes 40 minutes, heading deeper into the countryside, where sprawling properties hide behind stone walls and ancient trees. Celeste watches the world blur past her window, exhaustion settling into her bones like sediment. "Can I ask you something?" she says quietly. "Anything." "Why me? You could have anyone." "Why offer this to me?" Dorian is silent for a long moment, his hands steady on the wheel, his profile carved from shadow and starlight. "Do you believe in fate, Celeste?" "I used to. Before Todd. Before the diner. Before life convinced you that hope was a luxury you couldn't afford." "It's not a question. I'm 317 years old. In that time, I've met thousands of people, tens of thousands. And in all those years, all those faces, I've never felt what I felt the moment you nearly fell into my arms tonight." Her breath catches. "What did you feel?" "Recognition." He glances at her, and there's something vulnerable in his eyes, something achingly human despite everything he is. Like I'd been searching for centuries, and finally found what I didn't know I was looking for. The words should sound like a line, like manipulation dressed in poetry. But the raw honesty in his voice makes them feel like truth. The gates to the estate appear out of the darkness. Iron wrought in intricate patterns, flanked by stone pillars that look older than America itself. They swing open silently as the Mercedes approaches, and Celeste's mouth falls open. The house at the end of the long driveway isn't a house. It's a manor. 3 stories of Georgian architecture that could have been transplanted directly from the English countryside. Lights glow in windows like promises, and the gardens sprawling around it look like something from a dream. "This is where you live?" "This is where we live," Dorian corrects gently, "if you choose to stay." He parks in front of the main entrance, where double doors stand beneath a portico that could shelter a small army. A woman emerges as they exit the car, 60-something silver hair pulled into an elegant bun, wearing slacks and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Celeste's entire wardrobe. "Dorian," the woman says. Then her sharp eyes take in Celeste, the uniform, the exhaustion, the carefully hidden bruises, and her expression softens. "Oh, you poor dear. Come inside. I'm Mrs. Thorne. I manage this chaos of a household." "Celeste needs the blue suite," Dorian says, "and perhaps some tea, something to eat." "Already on it." Mrs. Thorne takes Celeste's arm with maternal efficiency. "Come along, sweetheart. Let's get you settled." The interior of the manor steals Celeste's breath. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, artwork that belongs in museums hanging casually on walls. A grand staircase curves upward like something from a movie, and everywhere she looks there's beauty. Deliberate, expensive, overwhelming beauty. "Don't worry," Mrs. Thorne says, noticing her expression. "It's intimidating at first, but you'll get used to it. And Dorian's bark is worse than his bite." She pauses, then laughs. "Well, usually." The blue suite turns out to be a bedroom larger than Todd's entire apartment. A 4-poster bed dominates the space, made up with linens that look like clouds. French doors open onto a private balcony overlooking the gardens, and there's an ensuite bathroom done in white marble and gold fixtures. "This can't be real," Celeste whispers. "It's very real." Mrs. Thorne sets down a tray bearing tea and delicate sandwiches. "And so is Dorian's offer. He's many things, arrogant, occasionally insufferable, fond of grand gestures, but he's not cruel. If he brought you here, it's because he sees something in you worth protecting. I don't understand why." "You will." Mrs. Thorne pats her hand. "Now eat something, have a bath, and rest. Tomorrow we'll talk about the position properly. But tonight you're safe. That's all that matters." After Mrs. Thorne leaves, Celeste stands in the middle of the room, turning in slow circles, trying to convince herself this isn't a dream she'll wake from to find herself back in Todd's apartment, nursing fresh bruises and dying hope. A knock at the door interrupts her spiraling thoughts. "Come in." Dorian enters carrying a bag. Her bag, she realizes with a start, the ratty duffel she keeps hidden in the back of Todd's closet for emergencies. "I sent someone for your things," he explains. "I hope that's all right." "You sent someone to Todd's apartment? Is that safe?" His smile is all teeth. "For Todd? Probably not. For my people? Absolutely." He sets the bag on the chair by the window and lingers, hands in his pockets, looking suddenly uncertain in a way that makes him seem younger than 3 centuries. "I should let you rest." "Wait." The word escapes before Celeste can think better of it. "Stay? Just for a minute?" Relief flashes across his face. He settles into the chair, all elegant lines and coiled power, and watches her with those impossible eyes. "Thank you," Celeste says, "for everything. For seeing me. For—" her voice breaks. "For caring enough to do something about it." "You don't need to thank me for basic decency, Celeste." "Yes, I do, because I haven't experienced much of it lately." She sits on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. "Can I ask you something else?" "Always." "What happens now? I mean, really. You're a vampire. I'm just me. What is this?" Dorian leans forward, elbows on his knees, and the streetlight from outside catches his profile, painting him in silver and shadow. "I don't know," he admits. "I've never felt this before. This pull, this need to protect you, to know you, to see you smile without fear darkening your eyes." He looks up, meeting her gaze. "But I'd like to find out, if you'll let me." "I'm broken," she whispers. "I'm damaged and scared, and I don't know if I remember how to be anything else." "Then we'll figure it out together." He stands, crosses to where she sits, and kneels before her so they're eye level. "I'm not asking you to be anything other than exactly who you are. Broken things can be beautiful too. Trust me, I've had 300 years to collect them." His hand comes up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing so carefully over the spot where foundation hides ugliness. The gentleness of it breaks something loose in her chest. "I'll try," she says. "I can't promise more than that, but I'll try. That's all I ask." He presses a kiss to her forehead, chaste, reverent, loaded with unspoken promises. "Sleep now. Tomorrow we'll begin again." He leaves her alone in the blue suite, but his presence lingers like perfume, like promise, like possibility. Celeste crawls between sheets that feel like silk and stares at the ceiling, half convinced she'll wake up to discover this was all a beautiful, impossible dream. But when morning comes, sunlight streaming through the French doors, birdsong drifting up from the gardens, she's still here, still safe. Still surrounded by beauty instead of fear. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in small moments stretched across weeks that blur into months. It happens when Mrs. Thorne teaches her which fork to use at dinner and doesn't laugh when she gets it wrong. When Dorian finds her crying in the library one afternoon and simply sits beside her, reading aloud from poetry until her breathing steadies. When the staff treats her not like an interloper, but like someone who belongs. It happens when her bruises fade and new ones don't appear to replace them. The work is real. Dorian wasn't lying about that. Celeste manages the household staff, coordinates schedules, handles correspondence. But it's work that matters, work that challenges her, work that pays enough for her to slowly rebuild the bank account Todd emptied during their relationship. And through it all, Dorian orbits her like a dark planet, patient and persistent and wholly devoted. He doesn't push, never demands, just offers. His time, his attention, his quiet presence in the chair across from hers while she reads before bed. He tells her stories of his long life, the absurdity and tragedy of immortality rendered in dry observations that make her laugh until she cries. He teaches her that not all men are like Todd, that touch can be gentle, that protection doesn't require possession. 3 months after that night in the diner, Celeste stands on her balcony watching sunset paint the gardens in shades of amber and rose. Footsteps announce Dorian's arrival before his voice does. "Beautiful evening." "It is." She glances at him, this impossible creature who saved her, and feels her heart do something complicated in her chest. "Dorian, can I ask you something?" "You know you never have to ask permission to ask me things." "Why haven't you—" She searches for words. "Why haven't you tried to kiss me? Or anything? I've been here for months. You've been nothing but kind, but you've never, because you weren't ready." He moves to stand beside her, close enough that she can feel the cool energy radiating from him. "Because I wanted you to heal first. To remember what it feels like to exist without fear. To choose me, if you choose me, from desire rather than gratitude or obligation. And if I'm ready now?" His breath catches, an unnecessary gesture that makes her smile because it means she can still surprise him. "Are you?" The question is careful, weighted with hope he's trying to hide. Instead of answering with words, Celeste turns to face him, rises on her toes, and presses her lips to his. For a heartbeat, he freezes. Then his arms come around her, pulling her close, and he kisses her back with a reverence that makes her feel precious, treasured, worthy. His lips are cool but gentle, moving against hers like he's memorizing the taste of her, the feel of her, the reality of this moment. When they finally break apart, both breathless for different reasons, Dorian rests his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the moment you nearly fell into my arms," he confesses. "Then why did you wait so long?" "Because you're worth waiting for." His fingers trace down her spine, making her shiver. "Because 300 years of existence taught me patience. Because I wanted your first kiss as a free woman to be yours to give, not something taken from you." Tears prick at her eyes. Happy tears, the kind she'd forgotten existed. "I love you," she whispers. testing the words, finding them true. I love you too. He cups her face in his hands, thumbs brushing away the tears. I have loved you since the first moment. I will love you for however long you'll have me. That might be a while. I'm pretty stubborn. His laugh rumbles through her, warm despite his cold skin. Good. I prefer it that way. The charity gala happens 6 months after Celeste moves into the estate. Dorian's been planning it for weeks. A fundraiser for domestic violence shelters, he tells her with a knowing look that makes her heart swell. You don't have to come, he assures her. I know crowds can be difficult. I want to, and she means it. I want to be there with you. Mrs. Thorne helps her get ready, producing a gown that looks like it was spun from moonlight and diamonds. It fits perfectly. Dorian's doing, Celeste is sure, because he notices everything about her. When she descends the grand staircase, Dorian waits at the bottom in a tuxedo that makes him look like old money and older danger. His eyes widen as he takes her in, and the naked want in his expression makes her feel powerful in a way she's never experienced before. You're breathtaking, he murmurs, offering his arm. You're not so bad yourself. The gala is held in the Manor's ballroom, a space Celeste hasn't seen before, all gilded columns and crystal chandeliers and windows that overlook the gardens. Guests mill about in designer clothes, sipping champagne, their laughter echoing off the high ceilings. Dorian keeps her close, one hand at the small of her back, introducing her to local politicians and business owners and society matrons who treat her with respect that feels foreign and wonderful. He doesn't hide her, doesn't diminish her. Instead, he presents her as his partner, his equal, the person who makes his existence meaningful. Halfway through the evening, Celeste excuses herself to the powder room. The hallway outside is blessedly quiet, a respite from the crowd. She's touching up her lipstick when she hears a familiar voice. Can't believe Ashford brought his charity case to something like this. Celeste freezes. Through the partially open door, she can see 2 women in expensive gowns standing in the hallway. One of them is Sandra Morrison, wife of the mayor, who'd been perfectly polite to Celeste's face 20 minutes ago. I heard she was waitressing at some dive before he rescued her, the other woman says. Must be nice landing a billionaire by looking pathetic. Well, you know how these old money types are. They love a project. Sandra's laugh is cruel. Give it 6 months. He'll get bored and trade her in for a newer model. The words shouldn't hurt. Celeste knows they're not true, but old insecurities die hard, and she feels herself shrinking, feels Todd's voice overlaying Sandra's. You're nothing. You're worthless. You're lucky I put up with you. She grips the sink, forcing herself to breathe. The door swings open fully. Dorian stands framed in the doorway, and the temperature drops so dramatically that both women gasp. His face is calm, pleasant even, but there's murder in his eyes. Ladies, his voice could freeze fire. I couldn't help but overhear your fascinating conversation. Sandra's face drains of color. Mr. Ashford, we were just disparaging the woman I love. Yes, I noticed. He moves into the hallway, and both women shrink back. Allow me to clarify a few things. Celeste is not my charity case. She is not a project. She is the estate manager, a position she handles with more grace and competence than either of you have demonstrated in your entire lives. We didn't mean... Furthermore. Dorian's voice drops lower, more dangerous. She is mine, under my protection, and anyone who insults her insults me. I trust we understand each other. Both women nod frantically. Excellent. Now I believe you were both just leaving. This event has suddenly become exclusive to people with basic human decency. He turns his back on them, dismissing them as thoroughly as if they'd ceased to exist. Celeste stands in the powder room doorway, tears streaming down her face, but they're not tears of shame. They're something else entirely. Relief, gratitude, love so overwhelming it feels like drowning in the best possible way. Dorian crosses to her, wiping away her tears with infinite gentleness. Are you all right? You defended me, she whispers. Always. He kisses her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. I will always defend you. You are mine to protect, and I take that responsibility very seriously. I love you. The words feel inadequate, too small to contain everything she feels. I love you more. He pulls back, studying her face. Do you want to leave? We can... No. Celeste straightens her spine, lifts her chin. I want to go back in there. With you. I want everyone to see that I'm not afraid anymore. Pride lights his features like sunrise. That's my girl! They return to the ballroom hand in hand, and if anyone notices Sandra Morrison and her friend fleeing toward the exits, no one mentions it. Dorian pulls Celeste onto the dance floor, holding her close as a string quartet plays something slow and beautiful. You know, she says, resting her head against his chest, I used to think fairy tales were lies. That Prince Charming was a myth designed to make real life more disappointing. And now? Now I think maybe fairy tales are just stories about what happens when brave people refuse to accept the darkness. She looks up at him. This beautiful, dangerous, devoted creature who saw her at her lowest and chose to lift her up. You didn't save me, Dorian. You gave me the space and safety to save myself. You always had that strength. His hand tightens on her waist. I just made sure no one could stop you from using it. The music swells around them, and Celeste closes her eyes, letting herself feel this, the safety, the love, the absolute certainty that she is exactly where she belongs. She thinks about the woman she was 6 months ago, flinching in a diner, hiding bruises under makeup, convinced she deserved every blow. That woman is gone. In her place stands someone stronger, someone whole, someone worthy of the devotion shining in a vampire lord's ancient eyes. Thank you, she whispers against his chest, for seeing me, for choosing me, for loving me when I couldn't love myself. Celeste. Dorian tilts her chin up, and there are centuries of loneliness in his smile, finally banished by the light in her eyes. Thank you for teaching a monster what it means to be human again. They dance until the stars come out, until the guests go home, until it's just the two of them in the ballroom, with moonlight streaming through the windows. And when Dorian finally sweeps her into his arms and carries her up the grand staircase to the blue suite, they're sweet now. Celeste knows with absolute certainty that this is what happy endings look like. Not perfect, not without scars or shadows, but real and chosen, and worth every dark moment that came before. In the morning, she'll wake wrapped in his cool embrace, sunlight painting the room in shades of gold. She'll manage the estate with confidence earned through trial and transformation. She'll continue healing, growing, becoming the fullest version of herself. But tonight, in Dorian's arms, with his lips on hers, and eternity stretching out before them, Celeste simply exists, loved, protected, free. The vampire lord found bruises under her makeup and asked who the hell had been touching her. And in answering that question, in accepting his protection and choosing to heal, Celeste discovered something more valuable than safety. She discovered herself. And that, she thinks as Dorian carries her to bed with reverence written in every touch, that is the real magic. Not the immortality, not the wealth, not the fairy tale manner, just the simple, powerful truth that she is enough, has always been enough, will always be enough. And now, finally, she believes it. The peace lasts exactly 47 days. Celeste is in the library cataloging a shipment of rare first editions when her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Her thumb hovers over the decline button, but something makes her answer. Hello? Breathing. Heavy, deliberate breathing that makes her skin crawl with recognition. You think you're safe now? Todd's voice slithers through the speaker like poison. You think your rich boyfriend can protect you forever? Her hand trembles. How did you get this number? I have friends, Celeste. Friends in useful places. Friends who are very interested in what your precious Dorian really is. He laughs, the sound wet and ugly. See, I did some digging after our last encounter. Found some very interesting people online. People who believe in monsters. People who know how to deal with them. The phone nearly slips from her grasp. Todd, listen to me. No, you listen. Tomorrow night, there's a council meeting at City Hall. About that historic preservation district your boyfriend's been fighting. I'd hate for certain information to come out during public comment. Information about unnatural creatures living among decent people. About how the mayor's been taking money from something that shouldn't exist. Her heart hammers against her ribs. You can't. Can't I? Watch me. Unless. He pauses, letting the word hang there like a noose. Unless you meet me. Tonight. The old Miller warehouse on 5th. Come alone, talk some sense into me, and maybe I'll keep my mouth shut. I'm not going anywhere with you. Then I guess everyone will know what Dorian Ashford really is by tomorrow afternoon. Wonder what happens to monsters when the whole city knows. Wonder what happens to the people who protect them. The malice in his voice makes her stomach turn. 10 o'clock. Don't be late. The line goes dead. Celeste sits frozen, the phone still pressed to her ear, her mind racing through impossible calculations. Todd's bluffing. Has to be. Except she remembers the vampire hunters from Dorian's stories, the ones who nearly killed him in Prague in 1847, the narrow escape in Boston in 1923. She remembers the wariness in his voice when he talks about exposure, about what happens when humans decide something needs to be destroyed. She finds him in his study, reviewing contracts with reading glasses perched on his nose, such a human affectation that it makes her chest ache. He looks up as she enters, and his expression immediately shifts. What's wrong? She tells him everything, watches his face harden with each word until he looks carved from marble, ancient and terrible, and absolutely lethal. You're not meeting him, Dorian says flatly. I'll handle this. He wants me specifically. If you do show, you'll be walking into a trap. He stands, prowling to the window with predatory grace. This isn't about negotiation, Celeste. It's about power. He wants to hurt you again, wants to prove he still can. I know that, but if he exposes you, then he exposes me. Dorian turns and there's something bleak in his eyes. I've been running for 3 centuries. Maybe it's time to stop. No, the word comes out fierce. No, you don't get to sacrifice yourself because my ex-boyfriend is a psychopath. We're solving this together. Together means putting you in danger. I've been in danger my whole life. Celeste crosses to him, taking his cold hands in her warm ones. The difference is now I have someone watching my back. So we do this smart. We go to the warehouse, but we go prepared. You said you have people, right? People who are loyal? Something shifts in Dorian's expression, surprise giving way to pride. You've been thinking about this? I've been thinking about nothing else since he called. She squeezes his hands. I'm not the same woman you found in that diner. I'm not helpless anymore. And I'm not letting Todd destroy what we've built. Dorian pulls her close, burying his face in her hair. You're magnificent, do you know that? I learned from the best. They plan it like a military operation. Marcus, Dorian's driver and, Celeste learns, former special forces, will position himself on the warehouse roof with night vision equipment. Elena, the estate's head of security and a vampire herself, will cover the east entrance. Mrs. Thorne, who apparently has a past involving MI6 that no one talks about, will monitor police frequencies in case Todd's stupid enough to involve law enforcement. I don't like this, Dorian says for the 14th time as they prepare to leave. He's dressed in black, looking like death incarnate, and Celeste has never found him more attractive. You've mentioned that. She checks the small panic button hidden in her jacket pocket. One press and everyone converges on her location. But we're doing this anyway because it's the right move. When did you become so strategic? When I fell in love with someone worth protecting. The warehouse district is exactly as derelict as Celeste remembers, from the one time Todd dragged her to a party here. Abandoned buildings with broken windows, shadows that seem to breathe, the kind of place where bad things happen and nobody notices. The Miller warehouse looms ahead, its loading dock doors hanging open like a mouth. Dorian parks 2 blocks away. Last chance to change your mind. Not on your immortal life. She leans over and kisses him, putting everything she feels into it. Love and fear and absolute determination. I'll see you in there. I'll be close. The moment anything goes wrong, you'll be there, I know. She touches his cheek, feeling the cool smoothness of his skin. Trust me. Always. Celeste approaches the warehouse alone, her footsteps echoing off cracked pavement. The darkness inside feels alive, hostile, and she has to force herself to keep walking. Moonlight filters through the broken roof, casting everything in shades of gray and black. Celeste! Todd emerges from behind a support pillar, and even in the dim light she can see he looks worse than she remembers. Thinner, wilder, with something desperate and mean in his eyes. You actually came. You gave me an ultimatum. What choice did I have? No choice. That's the point. He circles her slowly, and muscle memory makes her want to flinch, to make herself smaller. She fights the urge, standing tall. You look different. Confident. I don't like it. I don't care what you like anymore. His hand lashes out, but Celeste is ready. She sidesteps, and his palm meets empty air. Surprise flashes across his face. You've changed, he says slowly. Yes, I have. And you're still the same small, scared man who needs to hurt women to feel powerful. Her voice is steady, stronger than she feels. So, what happens now, Todd? What's your grand plan? My plan? He laughs, pulling something from his jacket. A phone. My plan is to send this email to every news outlet in the state. Complete with photos I took of your boyfriend. Time-stamped photos from different decades. Want to explain how Dorian Ashford looks exactly the same in 1985 as he does in 2025? Celeste's blood runs cold. She didn't anticipate this. Actual evidence, documentation that could destroy everything. Where did you get those? I have my sources. Turns out there are whole communities online dedicated to tracking your kind. Well, his kind. Todd's thumb hovers over the send button. So here's what's going to happen. You're coming home with me. You're going to remember your place. And maybe I don't press this button. And if I refuse, then I destroy him. Destroy you. Destroy everything you think you've built. His voice drops to something ugly. You're mine, Celeste. You'll always be mine. No. The word echoes through the warehouse, but it doesn't come from Celeste. Dorian steps from the shadows, and he's not trying to look human anymore. His eyes glow faintly in the darkness, and when he smiles, his fangs catch the moonlight. She's not yours. She never was. Todd stumbles backward, terror replacing bravado. Stay back. I'll send it. I swear I'll... No, you won't. Elena appears behind Todd, moving with inhuman speed, and plucks the phone from his hand before he can react. She examines it, scrolls through the screen, then looks at Dorian. The photos are real, but the email was never sent. He was bluffing. Rage contorts Todd's face. You think you've won? There are others. Others who know what you are. This isn't over. Actually, Mrs. Thorne's voice crackles through a speaker Elena produces. It is. We've been monitoring your online activities for weeks, Todd. Every forum you visited, every conspiracy theorist you contacted. And we've made sure that anyone you might have told now thinks you're having a mental health crisis. Your own mother thinks you need professional help. We've been very thorough. Todd's face drains of color. You can't... That's illegal? Unethical? Dorian stalks closer, and Todd shrinks against the support pillar. Perhaps. But I've had 300 years to accumulate resources, connections, and a very flexible moral code when it comes to protecting what's mine. You threatened Celeste. You threatened our life together. Did you truly think there would be no consequences? What are you going to do to me? Todd's voice breaks, and Celeste feels a strange pang of pity immediately followed by steel resolve. He had countless chances to be better, to choose differently. He chose this. I'm going to give you a choice, Dorian says, his voice dropping to something cold and final. You can leave this city tonight. Move far away. I'm thinking Alaska, somewhere sufficiently remote. You'll find a job waiting for you there, enough money to start over, and a strong suggestion to never speak Celeste's name again. Every 6 months, you'll check in with my people to prove you're staying away. And if I refuse, then I let the authorities know about your extensive collection of illegal surveillance equipment, your violation of multiple restraining orders we've quietly filed on Celeste's behalf, and your embezzlement from your previous employer. Dorian's smile is all predator now. I also have a very compelling video of you assaulting Celeste at the diner that night. Self-defense charges are so much easier to prove with visual evidence. Todd's mouth opens and closes. That's blackmail. That's justice. Celeste steps forward and she's surprised to find she's not afraid anymore. Todd looks small now, pathetic, stripped of the power her fear gave him. You had every opportunity to let me go, to move on, to be a decent human being. You chose violence instead. So yes, this is your consequence. Take the deal or face the alternative. But either way, you're done hurting me. For a long moment, Todd just stares at her. Then something breaks in his expression. The last gasp of his control, his power over her, finally dying. Fine, he spits. Alaska. But this isn't... It is. Dorian cuts him off. It's over. Marcus will escort you to collect your things. You have 2 hours to be on a plane. If you ever return to this city, if you ever contact Celeste again, if you even think her name too loudly, I will know. And next time, I won't be this generous. Marcus materializes from the darkness, built like a mountain, and wearing an expression that promises violence if necessary. He guides Todd toward the exit with a hand on his shoulder that looks gentle, but probably isn't. Silence fills the warehouse after they leave. Celeste realizes she's shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline, from relief, from the overwhelming reality that it's truly over. Dorian is there immediately, pulling her into his arms, and she collapses against him. You were incredible, he murmurs into her hair. So brave, so strong. I was terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He pulls back to look at her, cupping her face in his hands. You faced him. You stood your ground. You chose yourself. The tears come then, months of tension finally releasing, the last chains of her past finally breaking. Dorian holds her through it, steady and solid and absolutely devoted. What about the photos? She asks when she can speak again. If he had them, others might. Already handled. Elena appears beside them, holding up the phone. These were the only copies, and I've scrubbed every trace of his online activity. As far as the internet is concerned, Todd's vampire conspiracy theories never existed. How did you... I've been doing this a very long time. Elena's smile is sharp. Dorian isn't the only one who's learned to adapt over the centuries. They return to the estate as dawn threatens the eastern horizon. Mrs. Thorne has breakfast waiting, eggs and bacon for Celeste, coffee for everyone, and a special mug of something darker for Dorian and Elena that Celeste has learned not to ask about. Well, Mrs. Thorne says, settling into her chair with her own coffee, that was exciting. Reminds me of Budapest in '79. You never told me about Budapest, Celeste says, and I'm not starting now. But Mrs. Thorne's eyes twinkle. The important thing is you're safe, and that miserable excuse for a man is someone else's problem now. Celeste sips her coffee, letting the warmth seep into her bones, and looks around the table at these people, these creatures who fought for her, protected her, treated her like family. 6 months ago, she was alone, broken, convinced she deserved the pain dealt to her. Now she sits in a mansion having breakfast with vampires and spies, and she's never felt more at home. "Thank you," she says quietly. "All of you. For everything." "Family protects family," Elena says simply. "That's how this works. Family." Celeste tests the word, finding it fits perfectly. Yes. That's exactly what this is. After breakfast, Dorian walks her to their suite. The sun is fully up now, and he should be tired. Vampires don't do well in daylight, but he seems reluctant to leave her side. "I need to sleep soon," he admits, "but I wanted to make sure you're truly all right." "I am." And she means it. For the first time in years, I actually feel free. Todd was the last chain, and now it's broken. No more shadows from your past. Just the future ahead. She takes his hand, lacing their fingers together. "A future with you, if you'll have me." "If I'll..." He laughs, the sound incredulous. "Celeste, I have loved you since the moment you stumbled into my arms. I will love you until the stars burn out. The question isn't if I'll have you. It's if you can tolerate me for eternity." Eternity sounds perfect. He kisses her then, slow and deep and full of promise. When they finally break apart, he rests his forehead against hers. "There's something I want to ask you," he says quietly. "Not now, not today, but soon. About forever. About actually making it forever." She knows what he's offering. The gift of immortality, of endless time, of staying by his side through centuries yet to come. The idea should terrify her. Instead, it feels like coming home. "Ask me," she whispers. "I already know my answer." "Soon," he promises. "When the dust settles. When you've had time to truly consider what that means." "I've had a lifetime of considering what I want. And Dorian?" She pulls back to look him in the eyes. "I want you. However long that lasts." The smile that breaks across his face is pure sunrise, bright enough to rival the dawn outside. He sweeps her into his arms, carrying her to bed with a gentleness that still makes her heart skip, and she thinks about how far she's come. From a diner where she hid bruises under makeup, to a mansion where she's protected by creatures of myth. From a woman who flinched at raised voices, to someone who faced down her abuser without breaking. From broken to whole, from victim to survivor, from alone to beloved. The vampire lord found bruises under her makeup and demanded to know who hurt her. And in the answer, in the healing, in the fighting back, in the choosing herself, Celeste found something she'd thought was lost forever. She found her strength, her voice, her future. And she found love that doesn't hurt, doesn't diminish, doesn't take. Love that gives, protects, cherishes. Love that sees her scars and calls them beautiful. Love that doesn't need her to be perfect, just present.